putting it into practice means listening and obeying. In the 1960s, I spent 3 years in Papua New Guinea. It was a territory at that time administered by Australia. When copper was discovered in Bougainville, Consing Rio Tinto of Australia wanted to mine it, and they set up a mining company, Bougainville Copper Limited, to purchase the land. Australia controlled the negotiations and did not include the Bougainvillian residents. Violence erupted. 150 armed police camped on the land that was needed for a port site and were ready to take it by force. The people refused to sell and armed themselves with bows and arrows, spears and machetes. The police used tear gas and batons, but were withdrawn at the last minute before blood was shed. Paul Lapun, the member of the House of Assembly for South Bougainville, learned the art of listening and meditation through the people of Moral Rearmament, MRA. It's now called Initiatives of Change. And he and a village leader, Raphael Bellet, went to Australia to try and seek a High Court injunction to stop the mine going ahead. They were cared for in Sydney by MRA people, but before they went to the High Court, they had a quiet time. And in that time, Paul thought, go for solutions, not for headlines. So he refused 42 invitations to be interviewed on TV or newspapers. In an interview with the Prime Minister, John Gorton, and the Minister for External Territories, Seb Barnes, in that, Paul shared two thoughts from his meditations. Land is like our skin. We inherit it. We can't sell it. And that's how they treat land. We can't sell it because we don't own it. We inherit it and we pass it on to our children. It might be a good lesson, by the way, for Donald Trump to learn about Greenland, because they have the same attitude to land as the Bougainvillians. The second thought Paul had was, if God put copper into the ground, he can show us a way how to get it out. So he asked for the landowners to be allowed to negotiate directly with CRA. After an hour, the politicians agreed. For 2 hours, the CRA's top 3 men and the 2 from Bougainville talked. Paul explained they can't sell it. The miners said, well, what about leasing it? This was a wholly new concept for the Bougainvillians. And they saw a glimmer of hope. They returned to Canberra for talks with the government leaders, who then announced to the Parliament that they had changed the government policy and would allow CRA and the Bougainvillians to talk directly. Upon returning to Bougainville, Paul faced total opposition. The people were deadlocked. They didn't understand leasing and they feared losing their land. Paul showed them an MRA film called Freedom about Africans who were fighting for freedom, not just from the colonialists, but from bitterness. Paul advised them to forget their anger about the tear gas and batons and find a peaceful solution that could be an example to the world. After a few days, the people agreed. The mine went ahead, 8,000 people found employment. The mine's income brought in 40% of the Papua New Guinea's export income. Peace prevailed. Lepun became the first Knight of Papua New Guinea and a cabinet minister in the first independent government. By the late 1980s, many younger Bougainvilleans began to turn to violence. They wanted to secede from Papua New Guinea. The mine had caused significant damage environmentally, including poisonous tailings that killed fish. Power pylons were blown up, leading to an internal war with many deaths. A state of emergency was declared and the Papua New Guinea government blockaded the island. Shops, hospitals, banks, schools, shipping and transport closed. Phones, electricity, oil and petrol ran out. The provincial government disbanded. Talks were proposed, but a suitable venue could not be found until August 1990, when the New Zealand government offered 3 Navy ships, including the HMNZS Endeavour. I was one of 3 MRA people who were invited as bridge builders. The Bougainvilleans faces showed fear and distrust. Was this a trap? The talks began with prayers and hymns led by the Navy Padre to set the tone of reconciliation. Over 6 days, both sides tried to find common ground, but failed. Some Bougainvilleans wanted independence first, some wanted services restored first, and some wanted peace first. We 3 shared the food over lunch with the Bougainvilleans and showed them the film Freedom that Lepun had been showing 20 years earlier. I travelled with Lepun on those days in the 1960s. We had similar private times with the government delegates, including prayers. On the last day of the talks, both sides were deadlocked and divided. With 1 hour to go until these ships were due to leave, it seemed the talks would fail, and war would be resumed the next day. Bernard Narakobi, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who had invited us 3 to go to on these talks, went outside and in desperation quietly asked God, "What can I do?" When he came in, he found the Bougainvilleans divided and unable to propose anything to the government. He read out 4 proposals that he had written down on a serviette when he was outside. He and his chief negotiator, Michael Samari, the father of the nation and the first Prime Minister, proposed these proposals as the basis of an agreement. Astonishingly, the 20 Bougainvilleans got up one after the other, agreeing. They spoke in favour of accepting them. The talks were saved and a swift completion of the Endeavour Accord followed. Relief, handshakes and hugs were shared all round. The inner voice that Bernard Narakobi heard that day was felt by all to be of divine origin. However, some government officials in Port Moresby and some Bougainville Revolutionary Army members refused to accept all the terms. The blockade remained in force for 7 years and 10,000 deaths happened on the island. In 1997, New Zealand offered help again. The talks in Burnham near Christchurch resulted in a peace agreement accepted by both sides. The New Zealand Army monitored the agreement. Brigadier Roger Mortlock sent soldiers without guns, but with guitars, which was successful. In 2019, a referendum voted 98% in favour of total independence. Talks have continued since, including in New Zealand and Burnham last year in June. As a result, Bougainville expects Papua New Guinea to agree to independence on the 1st of September next year. Frank Bookman, the initiator of Moral Rearmament, or MRA, Initiatives of Change, he said, "When people listen, God speaks. When people obey, God acts. When people change, nations change." At 21, God revealed to me a situation in my family that deeply hurt me and made me bitter and blaming. I was amazed. I apologized to my parents and built a deep trust with them. Later, I felt called to build bridges across divisions in the world, wherever I was led. I gave up my plan to be a computer programmer and worked voluntarily for 26 years with MRA on 3 continents, including multiple visits to Papua New Guinea. I believe the power of the inner voice can reach every human heart, regardless of their background. Perhaps we all should meditate daily to let the inner voice speak to us. Thank you.